Conservative lightning rod Liz Cheney is opening a rift in the Republican Party. In about an hour and a half, she will officially announce she's challenging Wyoming Senator Mike Enzi, setting up a rare Republican primary showdown against a conservative incumbent. In a campaign video, Cheney doesn't mention Enzi by name, but instead targets President Obama.
President Obama has launched a war on our Second Amendment rights. He's launched a war on our religious freedom. He's used the IRS to launch a war on our freedom of speech. And he's used the EPA to launch a war on Wyoming's ranchers, our farmers, and our energy industry.
Enzi, a longtime friend of Cheney's father, former Vice President Dick Cheney, told reporters off camera that he was surprised by her decision.
Well, she said that if I ran, she wasn't going to run, but obviously that wasn't correct. I thought we were friends.
Let's bring in Democratic pollster Margie Omero, Managing Director of Research at Purple Strategies, and MSNBC contributor Robert Trainum, former senior advisor to the Bush-Cheney campaign. Okay, Robert, what's going on here? It wasn't even a year ago Liz Cheney said Mike Enzi is a terrific senator.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on here, except for politics and ambition. You know, there's two things in Wyoming that mean something, and that is a handshake and also fishing. And what you see here, or what you saw here, was Vice President Cheney and Mike Enzi bonding over fishing, but also having a gentleman's handshake here. But in all due respect to Senator Enzi, he did kind of waffle back and forth as to whether or not he was going to run re-election or not. But this is very, very surprising that Liz Cheney was going to formally announce. It's very surprising. But also, too, look, she's ambitious. She's a wannabe politician. The Cheney name is golden in Wyoming. And I'm sure this is going to be a very, very tough partisan fight in between the primaries.
Yeah, the Daily Rundown last hour, Wyoming's junior senator, John Barrasso, said he is backing Enzi. Let me play that.
He is my friend. He is my mentor. I think he does a great job representing Wyoming in the United States Senate, and I'm going to support him for re-election. But Liz has she's terrific, and I think she has a future that is very, very bright. I just think this is the wrong race at the wrong time.
And in fact, Wyoming Congresswoman Cynthia Lummis says it's bad form for Liz Cheney to challenge Enzi. What do you think's going on here, Margie?
I mean, what we're seeing here is that there's no real formula to predict who is vulnerable to a primary challenge if you're in the Republican Party. Senator Enzi is one of the most conservative members in the Senate. He's been ranked repeatedly very far to the right on a whole host of issues, and he's still drawing a primary challenge. So,
well, I think what we've seen in the past, right, Margie, is you've seen more moderate Republicans being challenged by Tea Party conservatives. This is unusual.
Right, moderates or folks who maybe seemed out of touch that they had become to establishment. But here you have Liz Cheney, who actually is from the establishment. I mean, you were talking in the last segment about people betting on what the next name is of the next person in the royal dynasty. I mean, that's kind of like what's going on here with the Cheneys. But the question is, does the Cheney name help, or is it seen as too Washington and too mainstream and too establishment for a state like Wyoming? It's up for the voters to decide. I mean, that's something that Republican voters are going to have to figure out.
Yeah, and I think it's not just a name question, it's a money question, because apparently Enzi hasn't raised that much money. He didn't think he was going to have a challenger. You have Karl Rove, who's a friend of Liz Cheney, but she's also criticized him and his Conservative Victory Project super PAC. Mary Madeline argues that the so-called establishment should let the voters decide and not be critical. Is this a problem within the Republican Party? And in the end, Robert, do you think, you know, as somebody who worked with the Bush-Cheney campaign, do you think in Wyoming there's a different calculus than in other places, because it is such a small state, and Enzi is basically, it seems, shaking the hand at some point or another of almost every resident?
You're absolutely right, Chris. It's not really about who's conservative or not, or more conservative. Notice that Ms. Cheney talked about the president in her primary video there. She's not talking about Enzi, and the reason why is because she can't really outright Mike Enzi, because he's such a conservative individual who is lockstep with his voters in Wyoming. So it's not about Enzi. It's all about the ambition for Ms. Cheney. But to go to your latter point, which is very, very important, it's a very, very small state here. And the question that the primary voter in Wyoming is going to ask themselves is, well, you know, listen, at the end of the name is a household name in Wyoming. Everyone knows everyone there. But Mike Enzi has done nothing wrong. In fact, he's been unbelievable senator for my interest. And the question becomes, should I reward him again in the primary? So this is going to be a question about who do you like most? Is it Mike Enzi or Cheney's? Money really has nothing to do with it. It's really about personality here.
Robert, from Margie Omero, I'm sure we'll race again. Thanks to both of you for coming in.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Have a good day, ladies.
Checking